welcome to today's episode of Crossout. We got more balance news for you today, which will be followed up by a new test server this weekend. So stay tuned, subscribe. Right now is a very good time to do it. We will be live streaming on Friday. You don't want to miss it. We're going to cover all the changes on the test server. This will be added on to the last week's test server and the week before that. And these are just some final tweaking that they want us to test before the sort of new balance patch, which may include some Night Riders. Also more on that later on in the video. It may include that, and we will possibly see this next week. So if you are interested in seeing where this potentially will end up, you should subscribe right now so you can join the live stream on Friday. It will start around 3 p.m. GMT +1. That's 2 p.m. GMT. We're probably going to start 30 minutes prior to that, actually, because that is usually when the test server goes live. But stay tuned on the channel and I will let you guys know. So what do we have on the menu today? Well, all of the weapons that you see here, the Trigger, Blockchain, Helios, Prometheus, Synthesis, Tsunami, and Annihilator, are all getting changed. We have touched upon all of these in the previous ones, but they are tweaking these further, and I'm going to cover what they are going to do to each of them in this video so that you guys can stay updated to it as well. Starting off with the Trigger, the following things will be changed, and do know that this will be changed from the last week's test server. So now the increased weapon rotation speed by 37%. They did this, don't think they touched this at all in the previous one, but they're going to reduce the reload time by 0.5 seconds, meaning that we will now get 2.5 reloading time. On the live server right now it's 2, so this equals a total of 0.5 seconds more reload time between each shot. They're also going to change the optimal range from 80 to 90, so you're going to get a little bit more range on it, and the maximum range from 80 to 110, so quite a lot of extra range. But do know that on the live server, the maximum range is 150, so this still equals a shorter range for the weapon. A lot of people have been discussing that this should be a long-range weapon, but I honestly kind of want to tend to disagree, because you get so much damage from this weapon and you also get so much precision. And I really feel like there should be a trade-off, so you cannot just sit back and just snipe off weapons without really having to put yourself into that much danger. So I think this partways meeting with, you know, the old thing and the first tests here, so settling in between, I think is a really good call. Excited to see where this takes us, but we're going to test that Friday. And then we have the Blockchain, which will be touching a little bit with the perk. We will see some base damage buffs to it as well, and now they're adding 50% extra damage on the perk too. Question is, will the Blockchain be viable again now? I actually think that we will maybe see some more Blockchain builds now. Maybe you can combine your triggers and your Blockchains. And I also think, like I said before, the Trigger and the shorter range will also align it more with the Blockchain. Or was the Blockchain 150 before? I don't even remember. We will test Friday to see how everything works. And then moving on to the Prometheus, the Helios, and the Synthesis. These will have their damage reduced by 10%. The reason for this is that they are changing the way that you can fire these. Before, you would have to sit there and click each time that you fired your Helios or whatever. And in order to counter the fact that you no longer have to click so that you can cycle these quicker, they're reducing the damage by 10%. I also think that is a very clever move, because they deal a lot of damage. I'm still a bit bummed about them making them auto fire. While I do enjoy it, I will enjoy it because it's going to make it so much easier to play in Clan Wars. But besides that, it also, again, it makes the room between who's a really good Helios player or who's a not such a good Helios player, it sort of evens out the battlefield when it comes to your skills at, you know, being good at clicking, which might not seem like any big deal to some of you. It is just those tiny things that makes the game more competitive. So a little less competitive in my opinion, but still a nice quality of life improvement at least, and we should not disregard that. And then moving on to the Tsunami, which will now have 10% increased damage for each stack, and this is still going to be at 6 stacks, I meant to say, and we're going to get a stack every other second, so meaning that we can get a total of 60% damage buff now. This means that right now the Tsunami on the test server dealt 205 damage, so if we take 205 damage and we add up with 60% to that, we will get a total of 328 for one hit, which is quite a lot. Like 328 for one Tsunami shot means that this will actually deal more than a Typhoon will, and the Typhoon is, you know, already getting changed a lot. So I actually think this is very interesting to see whether Tsunamis in some occasions will actually be better than Typhoons for Clan Wars. And I definitely think that this is something worth testing more, but you know, I said it before, Friday will do it. And then finally, we have the Annihilator drone, which is getting a bit more of a nerf compared to what they are already doing. So now we're going to see as well reduced drone altitude by 10% and increased drone attack range by 10%. The range, don't take this as a buff. The range is merely so that the drone will hover further away from targets, and they're also going to bring it down just a little bit. Still don't see how this changes at all the fact that we cannot hit this drone while it is in the air. Increase the size of it. Do something to the fact that you cannot shoot this drone when it is in the air compared to other drones. There is just something wrong with the hitbox. It might also just be me, I don't know. But I hear a lot of people talking about the fact that this drone just has something wrong with the hitbox. And I think it's worth, you know, having a look at when so many people report it, because I don't think it's right that you have a drone which is already hard to hit, and that many people report that they cannot hit it. Then I really think they should respond to it. But then again, this is just a test server, so we might see the changes on the final server, so don't stress it yet, guys. I definitely think that they will touch upon it. We're just not seeing it for the test server. And if it's not something that they feel like needs testing, but they just want to see how the drone feels, then I also get why they don't add it to a test server, because it's not something that you can give a lot of feedback on, maybe the feel of it. But again, it's just the hitbox they have to change. So hopefully that will happen. And then finally, we have one more news for you, and that is that there is actually coming more movement parts, and I think this one is very interesting. So let me start up by bringing up a picture of it here. So this is the new movement part that we will be looking at, and my theory is that this is actually a new epic movement part, because the way that they make it talk about it just makes it sound like this new movement part has something that we don't have at the moment, which is a lightweight heavy, or not lightweight heavy, wow, a lightweight epic movement part, which is a wheel. The reason that I think this is that they're saying Valor stole this, I think, from some dude, or it is the other one in the studio. This is from the Crossout news, but they're saying that the wheels are called Rebel and add chic shine to your car, guaranteed. Then they say the following: I recently lost my bottom, so thanks to these beauties, I don't need air conditioning in my car. Ventilation is fire. I mean, my ventilation just caught fire, so these wheels are my salvation. So they sort of talk about this wheel as being light as air, potentially, and as we can also see, the entire build-up of the wheel seems like it is a pretty light wheel, but it still looks like a pretty big wheel. So I am just speculating that this might be a light version of a epic wheel, and this means that we will potentially see something that will not stress your build as much. It's a Bigfoot wheel, maybe only take away 10 or 15% power for each wheel. And that was actually all for today, guys. As you're watching this, I am probably setting up a stream on Twitch, so definitely I will link my Twitch down in the comments. Come say hi. We will play some Clan Wars. I'll play some Executioner Hover. Been loving that lately. And I'll see you Friday. Don't forget to be there. It is gonna be great. See you then, guys. Bye bye.